So, Coach, going into this one, is there any like revenge type messaging that you try and impart, or is it more just kind of try and keep it like any other game?
Very, very good question, because I got asked by the Fox people as well, and we've kind of already addressed it, Ari. It is more internal for maybe the coaching staff than external as the form of a question or a reminder to the players. Because look, they have to have that for themselves. I mean, that's a proud group in there. They certainly, you know, I mean, it's not that ancient history. I mean, it sounds or it feels like it's been a long time ago, but you know, they weren't pleased with their performance. And so I think it's incumbent on them, without my help, to dictate as to whether they're going to make this a big deal that we're playing Columbus again or not. What I would say to you, Ari, is the messaging that we did give them was it's a really nice stadium, brand new, that everybody's kind of excited to get into. And then number two, the form of our opponent not having won in the last 5 games is going to make them a dangerous opponent. They are going to be desperate. And that is the message that I've sent, that we need to be prepared for the first 15 minutes of the game, that Columbus is going to, I mean, they're going to come out and try and, you know, just win the game any way, shape, or form they can. They just lost their star striker to injury. He's going to play the underdog card, but he's going to have his team ready.
Just a reminder, guys, not going to call anyone unless you do want to raise your hand in the raise hand function. But I see Jeremiah is bringing himself off mute, which means he's good to go. Go ahead, Jo.
Hey, Brian. This is in some ways, I suppose, kind of a similar situation as you went into the MLS Cup with, where they were missing a bunch of guys and they were sort of a little wounded in that way. Is there anything you take from that meeting into this one, or like you said, is it sort of ancient history and you can't really take too much from the, like the actual gameplay of that game, not taking the fact that it's MLS Cup out of it?
You mean as far as tactics and everything, or just back to my messaging to the group?
No. Like tactically, is there anything that you can take away from that meeting?
No, it's actually harder to, prepare for them now, because look, Jazzy Zardes, like I said, was such a big part of the team. Now, does he play with Zelarayan as a false 9? Does he bring Hurtado in? He's got a Spanish kid that's 6'4". I don't know how he's going to line up. He's been pretty standard 4-2-3-1, but it looks like 4-4-2 when they defend. Characters kind of move around. They try to play the same, but I think Jazzy is such a big piece to their team that it's just going to look and feel a little different. He's been rotating his outside backs with our good friends Saad Abdul-Salam and Waylon Francis and Aful and the other guy. But, their personnel, missing Jazzy, where does he put Zelarayan on the field? Those are things that we can't really plan for. So this game, to me, is more about getting our team right, our tactics right. And then the message on the mentality side is, this is a desperate team. This is a wounded animal. And yes, Caleb has the ability to kind of do the same thing he did in MLS Cup, which was, everybody, the Sounders are good. The Sounders are supposed to win this game. And then they came out in that 20 minutes of MLS Cup and really, played better than us. I mean, that was a fact.
Brian, going into this game, how important was it that you did get to rest some players that were playing, every minute of every game, and maybe getting some players in to get them more in-game rhythm, like Bessonet? How important was that going into this game?
Very, very important. I mean, very, very, very important. I think there'll only be like 2 guys that have played all 3 games all week. So that shows the depth of our squad. And, the depth of our squad coupled with actually winning games. So very, very important.
Along those lines, it's with I assume Nico
Hey, Brian,
is closer to full strength now. What does it feel like you're basically putting out or pretty close to a first choice lineup now?
Well, we'll have to wait till some other players come back. We still got a couple of missing, but what it affords me to do, Jeremiah, because what I would say is that, look, we've had a lot of success, and how we've always kind of done things is we've used the first part of each season to kind of tinker and to try and kind of mold and get some ideas and figure out how we want to play. Because of the fact we haven't had Nico, arguably one of our most influential players on a consistent basis, how we integrate him, where we integrate him, it might still take us a couple of games to figure out exactly the best position and the best lineup and rotations and, some of those nuances. But yes, we're getting close to that full strength squad, and we're going to be very close here because, I want to get to it sooner rather than later, figure out a real defined way that we're going to try and play for the rest of the year.
Brian, you like to play from the back. I'm just wondering, where do you see the team now? Is it about where it needs to be in terms of that passing out there? And I know you've got moving parts in terms of Nico, like you just talked about, but how is the team working passing from the back?
The objective is always to try and play out from the back. Maz, that's always been our objective. I've told you guys this. Why do you kick a ball down the field where it becomes a 50-50 when you can guarantee 100% possession when you make your first pass? So we're trying to always hold on to that thought, to that way of playing. Things will change a little bit. I mean, look, I moved Shane over to the right and AB came on. It's a little different when Yaimar's there and Shane. It'll be different if Yaimar and Nouhou, Brad or Madranda, each one of those players have subtle different strengths. So I think you'll see subtle differences in the tactics based on personnel, but the objective is always the same.
Brian, you mentioned Nouhou there. How's he doing? What's his track for?
Well, I guess I can say that he will be involved in the game in some way, shape, or form. I guess that's my answer, Jackson.
And then on the goalkeeper point, you've gotten a couple of shutouts from Spencer Ritchie, and you've obviously had good performances from Stefan Cleveland, and we know Stefan Fry. Gus said earlier this week that he joked that it's the best goalkeeping room ever. How do you evaluate having this much depth at the goalkeeper position, and just being able to have all three guys at such quality?
Well, look, we've had good goalkeeping starting with, Casey Keller, who was, arguably one of the best goalkeepers this country has ever produced. So, I would say that we've always had a strong goalkeeping core. Spencer Ritchie came on and did exactly the job I needed him to do against Dallas and against Austin, and we are lucky to have him. Stefan Cleveland is a young and up-and-coming goalkeeper that has a lot of potential. Those two guys, both of them, Spence and Stefan Cleveland, have good futures ahead of them. Stefan Fry, you guys know all about. He's great. I love Steph. He's done a lot for the club. That's a positive. Casey Keller, I mentioned, Marcus Hanneman, you go all the way down the line in the list of all the bet, Michael Gersperning. What is the one constant? Jackson, what is the one constant?
It'd be Tommy Dutra.
It'd be Tommy Dutra. Thank you for the correct answer. So what I'm blessed with is a guy who's very, very good at his craft. His craft is to make each individual goalkeeper that comes to him better. And he does that consistently. And so, however the season shakes out, Steph Fry comes back, okay, fine. Could be another injury. You never know. We have a backup plan. We have the future plan. I mean, we are blessed by having a ton of options. I'll put it like that.
Brian, obviously you just mentioned that there's some injuries for Columbus. They've played in a 4-4-2, in a 4-2-3-1, but away from formations, is there anything specific that you typically expect out of a Caleb Porter team that you can kind of go back on?
No, just what I said, Nico. This game's going to be really hard to gauge. I mean, look, he talks about being a possession-based team. The last time we played him in the final, it seemed like they were crossing a lot of balls, but now they don't have Ozzy in there. So I don't know if he is true to his system. Maybe the Spaniard, the young kid, is good in the air as well, and we'll have to be prepared to block crosses. I just think Caleb's very good at messaging to his team. I think he's a good coach when it comes to, these are big games, big moments, and he's got to get the maximum out of his group. And so I think he's going to have them ready mentally. And then whatever subtle tactics he uses, I'm sure there will, again, be tweaks because he's missing important pieces. So, we expect him to try and be possession-based. They will press higher up the field, defensive tactics. I'm expecting them to press higher up the field. So typical stuff that we saw last time we played them.
Coach, we've seen Jimmy Medranda, Raul Ruidiaz, all of them starting to kind of take free kicks with Joe Paulo and Nico. Is that, it seems like we used to have just kind of a couple of guys that were going to do that type of thing. Now you got a lot more options. What is that kind of about?
What's that about? It's great.
It is great.
Freddie Montero too. I mean,
Freddie.
Those guys are going to start fighting over who gets to take the free kicks from outside the penalty area. Look, I let those guys solve it. I let those guys solve it. They feel, I like having, if it's on the right-hand side, a lefty, if it's on the left-hand side, righty. There's certain things that we discuss. But, Raul down in Portland the other day, he got the foul. He felt it. He felt in that moment he could do something. And that's what they do. I mean, against Dallas, you saw Jimmy. I mean, that free kick wasn't that far off the mark, and they usually settle it on their own, Nico.
Nice. Yeah, no, good. Jimmy is a player that maybe, did you know coming into the team what a good shot and service he had? I mean,
we knew he had a great left foot. You could see that the first day of practice. So as he's building his confidence, I think, look, whatever his last couple of years were in his career, moved around, went from KC to Nashville and, all of that. I mean, he's found a home here and he's happy. He's happy with the group. He's happy with his own performances. So when a player is confident and fully fit, I mean, the medical staff did a good job getting him fit. This is what you get, you get a polished player because he has that technical ability within him.
Other questions, guys?
Hey, Brian, Andy Mashta with the Seattle Times. Christian Roldan was named captain of the MLS All-Stars yesterday, and I saw that video where you got to tell the whole team. What do you think? What was that experience like, and what do you think this says about Christian as a player and a leader on your team?
Well, I mean, the video was great because I love when Alex gives me the little, the details, and we can use that to motivate the squad and make the locker room even better than it already is. I think all of our players respect Christian for what he does for our team. That's easy. What I would say is, nationally, Christian might not get recognized as much as maybe he should, because I think he's well in the conversation for being a solid member contributor to our national team. I think he's been great the last couple of tournaments, last couple of games, but it was really our fans. That was a fan voted deal. And so who I'm thanking is actually our fans, that they are engaged, and we made Christian the captain. Now he's got a lot of traits that he deserves the captaincy, but you're also going against Carlos Vela and some of the other guys that were there. You, the home team guy, gets the captaincy. So kudos to all of the fans that participated in the hashtag Christian captain or whatever it was. That's just a sign to me that our fans are still the greatest fans in the league.
Awesome. Thank you.
Brian, looking more ahead, I just kind of wanted to ask you, Raul Ruiz was called up by Peru. Peru plays game in September 2nd against Uruguay. Is that a game, knowing that you play Portland on the 29th, is that something that you might try to talk with the Federation about letting him stay for that particular game before the break?
Well, there are set rules, and I will, make sure I follow the international rules, but we plan on having him available for that game.
Thank you.
Other questions, guys?
Yeah, Brian, speaking of injured players, I know Steph traveled, and that was obviously a big deal for him to travel. How is he looking? How close is he?
He's very close, Jeremiah. All I need is the final timeline from the doctors when they do their final little ultrasound tests and whatever, to make sure that that blood clot is completely dissolved, and then he has to come off the blood thinners, and then he's eligible to play.
So can we surmise then that you have not received that clearance for him to actually play yet?
He is not cleared to play in tonight's match. I am still waiting for the doctor's okay for him to actually participate in an MLS match.
Anything else from the group, guys, or is that everybody's questions covered? Okay, Brian, thanks for being here.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Brian. Oh, happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you, Nico. It was a very, very good birthday. Very, very good birthday.
That's good. That's good. I like the song. It was good.
That was Tommy Dutra and Freddie Montero. Those two guys, they were the ones that, tried to get me to dance like Christian and everybody else. So,
all right. Hopefully, we'll see you dance to a Raul Ruiz song. Hopefully, one time.
Okay. All right. Take care, you guys.